All right, now, what I'm going to be talking about changes everything, and I mean everything. It changes religion, the whole 9 yards. Now, how much does it change religion? I'm not sure. But I'm going to tell you what, I am now looking deep into these discussions about science. Has science buried God? It's a debate between Richard Dawkins and John Lennox. This goes back a few years ago. But there's going to be a lot of this I am going to go into and try to make my presentation of who was God? Where did all this stuff come from? Who were they worshiping? Okay, they realized they were wrong about how the inner solar system planets formed, which is Earth and Mars and all this Venus and so forth. They have no clue. So here's what they say. The result of the study have far-reaching consequences for our understanding of the process that formed the planets Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars. The theory postulating the four rocky planets grew to their present size by accumulating millimeter-sized dust pebbles from the outer solar system is not tenable. They realize they've been wrong about everything, and now they're starting to finally talk about it a little bit, and yeah, well, just this. Well, let me tell you something. They were wrong about everything there is, and I'm going to show you right now. Like I say, I didn't know how to present this. It's so complicated and so simple at the same time. But I do research, and everything I do, I record. And here's the recording I'm doing now of Velikovsky, how he's talked about what was written in the past, not his theories. All right, understand me on this. He was not just, oh, it might have been this, or we think it was this. No, this is what was written by the people that were there when it happened. They said there was 7 days of extreme brightness as Venus approached, and then the deluge. Now listen, I'm just going to read it to you, because this synopsis gives you a good synopsis of what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to get in deep. This is not going to be a quick fix here. Now, I got here an introduction. There's two main cataclysms that were near misses by what appears to be Venus. Now, one of them was around 1500 BC and the other was around 700 BC. So those are two cataclysmic events on those two time frames, all recorded through history. The Greeks talk about, the Greeks and the Romans, Jupiter as a male god, Venus. Now, the Egyptians had Jupiter as Isis, which is female. And I'm going with Jupiter as female and the Egyptians. I say Jupiter must be female and gave birth, literally as a female creature, to Venus, with blood, placenta, umbilical cord, hydrocarbons, 100%. And then Velikovsky says that Seth attacked Osiris, which was Isis's brother and husband. So Seth came from somewhere, they don't know where, and he attacked Osiris, cut him up, dismembered him, and dispersed his body parts throughout the universe. And then Isis went out to try to find his body parts. Now, space smells like meat and steak. It's all over. And I have found I have meteorites here that are body parts. No question whatsoever. And they are everywhere, and there's no question whatsoever. And they've gone out and landed on the Comet 67P and sampled the gases and the dust particles, and they are ferrous oxides and sodium and silicates and hydrocarbons, exactly like us. Now, what Velikovsky recorded, though, was there were eyewitnesses. These are eyewitness accounts in every different culture on Earth, and he went to all of them. They were recorded at the same time, the same events, the same dates. I say that has to be true. The whole world could not be wrong, although it is wrong now. Now, the Velikovsky account recorded worldwide, Saturn and Jupiter got into this celestial dance very close. I say they mated as a double star system, Saturn and Jupiter. So Saturn impregnated Jupiter. This is what I'm saying. Then the ages are ruled by the planets. The Greeks had Saturn was Kronos as Jupiter and Zeus. The Egyptians have Osiris and his wife, which was his sister, as Isis. Now, I go with the Egyptians being correct. And these were eyewitness accounts. And what they said was they were literally a human drama in space. These creatures were just absolutely enormous. And then I think Revelations 13 already happened, because it says she stood with her feet on the moon, about ready to give birth, and then the dragon came and he was thrown to earth, and all that stuff appears to have already happened. Because when she gave birth, all of that, I believe it was Venus was being born from Jupiter, and with her feet on the moon, and the rest of the parts to give birth up where Jupiter is, apparently. That's how I'm taking it. And when Venus almost hit Earth, blood came with it, hydrocarbons. Manna fell all over the desert. Manna is nothing more than cooked placenta. Stones fell everywhere, and that would be the umbilical cord. It's a stony, rocky, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough, scrappy thing. And I mean, that's when Venus almost hit us. It said Jupiter gives birth to Venus, which was a fiery comet. They all saw it. It took 7 days before it impacted with Earth. Well, it has 7 days of brightness. I don't know, it might have gone around 2 or 3 times, but by the time it was going to hit Earth, it was glowing for 7 days. It began to impact. And I can show you how it started to glow. I can show you that too. How about that? All right, this is what happens as particles, just like the sun or the planets or the Earth or light, approach to concuss. And in this case, this would be the normal, everybody just floating through space, having a good time. And then all of a sudden, something's going to impact. You create this enormous amount of energetic value, and the particle begins to glow itself. And then you get this explosive concussive condition. Now, what did it have to say in the ancient texts? The light of the moon will be equal to the sun, and the light of the sun will be 7 times brighter. And that's what you're seeing. The moon here was an unlit up particle. All of a sudden turns as bright as what the sun would be. And the sun turns into 7 times brighter than normal. And I'm saying this was due to the atmospheric concussion interacting with extreme glow from Venus. I would say from Venus, not Saturn, but I don't know. Who knows? But Velikovsky said it was Venus. I go with Velikovsky. Now the oxygen levels dropped drastically because of the deluge. And why was the deluge? The deluge turned all of the oxygen and hydrogen that are gaseous, it compressed it and turned it into watery substances. And they said the water levels increased dramatically on Earth. So the oxygen level dropped drastically after the deluge, and it was due to condensation, in my opinion. The survivors of the flood said they couldn't even start fires because the oxygen levels were so low they couldn't start fires the way they used to. Because the oxygen bonds with the hydrogen turns back into water. The water levels went, they said, over the roof. It became a watery, just a soaky, wet, watery planet. That's the deluge. Now the Midrash, the Quran, others say waters boiled from below and the skies burst into flames above as this event happened. The earth being here would be crunched. And then whatever was underneath would boil up from below. As you compress stuff, they heat. And this is due to concussion. Pushing and shoving back. That's what causes this energetic reaction. Then they couldn't understand the chlorine. Where did all the salt come from? Salt came from the dead bodies of all the creatures that were drowned in these oceans. That's why these bodies created, salt, kidneys and all that. That's because it was nothing more than creatures. They leached from the dead bodies. Some of this is my opinion, but a lot of it is pretty obvious. Now, there was huge electric discharges, lightning, which is all this push to shove right here. That's nothing more than lightning right there. That's lightning in a bottle. All right? It was all electric discharges. And I say these electric discharges back then, it proves my electron flood theory. It works perfectly with the whole scenario. Now the Midrash, which is the Jewish text, is the Midrash the Jewish text? I don't know, whatever. It's one of these ancient texts. During the deluge, all volcanoes erupted, all of them. The volume of water on Earth vastly increased, it said. These are the ancient texts. Both are from compression, which lead to the fracture of the core. This is my opinions. The water heated from below as well as from above. Condensation above created lots of water, and that gave us all of the water on Earth, and they couldn't start fires. Then they're talking about the Atlantic Ocean being the Sea of Kronos. I don't know about that. Now, they say there's 7 days, the Festival of Lights now. We still have these festivals of lights and so forth, which celebrated these things. I think that's where I cut it off here. Yeah, and then we got the battling a dragon and all that stuff. That's as far as I'm into it right now. Anyway, we're going to get deep, deep, deep. So here goes. Okay, I'm just going to go right for the throat. This is so deep, it's just unbelievable. This is a gigantic fish. This is North Africa. Shown this literally hundreds of times. That fish right there, this huge, gigantic fish, comes around. The tail is here. The upper fin is here. The face is a little obscured, but this is a dragon. All right, that's a dragon's head. The body runs down here. Now, I'm just going to highlight it real quickly. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Just so people that are new to this are going to have a hard time seeing it. But if we take and go right down his throat, right here, all the way down, and over the top of his head, and I'll see if I move it now, it's going to change. But look at this. This is going to be his throat, running all the way down there. Up above that is that flashy, fluty looking stuff that you see on the parades, and and all of this is the runoff of a dead, decaying, decomposing body. That's the bodily fluids that are running off. Now, I'm going to have to erase that because it'll be in the way when I move the display. Now, so here's what's going to happen, or here's what did happen. That dragon, which is his head, and that's his fiery red eye, they call it. This looks like a fiery red eye to me. And that's that flashy stuff that goes down the side of the dragon. These are all his scales. You see all the dragon scales that are running down the throat? They're inside the throat and they're outside the throat. See, they're outside the throat all the way down here. Look, and these are thick. These are some heavy-duty scales. You try to get through those, you're going to have a hard time. And there's a little crack here and here and here and here and here and here and here. And that's so that he can bend his neck around. Otherwise, it'd be one solid piece and he couldn't bend. Now, there was a cut way down here, right there, right across his throat. And something cut that throat. And he bled right out in the desert. That's all blood running out of that throat, dragon-scaled throat. And that's how this dragon died. And there are all kinds of accounts to talk about this. This is the dragon venom. That is absolutely nasty, nasty, nasty stuff. And you see this is coming down and it's getting all over his fin. Wow, this is an interesting area here. Huh, never saw that before. They must be growing something there or doing something. But anyway, this is not a... Boy, that's a very remote area. You find things every time you come up here and look. Look at this stuff. That's of interest. What's this here? Something happened here. That's not natural. I'd like to see where all these roads lead to. This must be a road. Well, I'll tell you, there's nothing else other than if that's a road. I don't know where it goes. That's a long drive. There's absolutely nothing out here. This is just, I'm kind of stunned. That's right in the middle of the dragon spot, right over here. Somewhere, now I've lost it. Well, anyway, my point is, there's things that, this is, again, another bizarre thing I'm looking at. I can't account for any of that. There doesn't seem to be anybody living out in this region. There's nothing out here. There's a lot to look at. And this is a dragon that runs all the way across North Africa. Now that's over 1,000 miles. And it is still a dragon. There's his tail, and his tail is still decaying out here in the desert, just like the rest of them. And it runs all the way out here to the flutiness at the end. And there was dragons all over this earth. This is not one of a kind. And they were as big as this one. Well, I might as well show you. And you come up here, you got Google Earth. There it is. It's Quetzalcoatl. There's his head, right there, and all the way up the east coast is the body. And this is the plume that goes up from the top of their head. This different color is because there's a different chemistry here. These are dragon scales that whatever's living on them is maybe cotton or something. I don't know. But this is all dragon chemistry. This around here is just runoff chemistry. Where you have green, you have a lot of bloody areas. These are the little fluffy things that shoot down from the dragon's beard. And it was spitting something out here. This is the feathers. Watch. You see right here? That's Little Rock, Arkansas. Coming straight up here is the feathers. And that's what they show for Quetzalcoatl. You see the feather tips? No, those are just mountains. No, that's not correct. They are feathers. And I can show you how I know that, because the rest of his body is feathered as well. He was a plumed serpent. All the way up the east coast. Up in here, there's feathers. These are not hills. Those aren't hills. Those aren't just accidental hills. And they are made of the collagens and the things that make things grow red. I mean green, really bright green. And I found that the red blood is extremely growth oriented for green plants. Red blood makes things grow fluffy and green. And the black blood, which is the deoxygenated blood, has this effect. You get this, where it's like lichen. In the mud fossils, you see lichen is white looking, and the green fluffy moss is where the red blood was. But this is from this dragon. That's Quetzalcoatl. That's the whole east coast of the United States. Now, I don't know, they can't have been just walking around here all day, every day. But they're here. Now, were these the ones that were hurled down from heaven? Let's take a look at something.